The
Oh, I know an
easiest
easy way
way
to
to
answer these
answer the
questions.
questions.
First, next, best, host, social workers. Yeah, getting there. No, come on, guys. We got this. We got this. Join my study group. We got this. Hey, welcome back, tribe. In this video, this is watch this video before taking your exam. Ray, how should I approach studying for this exam? I know some of us been out of school for a while, or just simply like, hey, honestly, Ray, I've never been the best test exam taker. So how do I even approach this? What should I do? Don't worry, I got you guys. We're gonna cover this, so stay tuned. Okay, so for those that have attended my study group, you guys know that there's some helpful resources and Word documents that I send out after every study group. And here's something that's included within that Word document that I send out after the study groups and everything. Let's say today is day number 1. We never cracked open a textbook or nothing like that. Today is day number 1. Or even if we are, in the midst of our studying journey and everything. But even if this is day number 1, the first thing I want us to do is create an affirmation card. Overcome your exam anxiety by reminding yourself of your power through affirmations. Create an affirmation card or voice memo. On the iPhone, they have the voice memo. You can record yourself because we just want to hear ourselves, so that works too. 30 seconds to a minute of what passing this exam means to you. Why? So bringing in that good old CBT model, essentially internally our thoughts, which is also our perception, influences our emotions. That's important because how we feel influences how we behave/act. That's why people say, I'm in the mood to, or I'm not in the mood to. And whatever that type of influence is, again, reflects our behavior/action. So if we're having just simply those negative, unhelpful thoughts of not wanting to study, not feeling as confident, we want to remove all of that as much as possible so that we can focus on what we need to do, enhance those study sessions, and ultimately go in there and pass the exam. So affirmations, we want to keep it at the forefront of our mind. And we have an example here. Passing my licensure exam means I get to help more people, further my career, and increase my finances. I will pass my licensure exam by remaining positive, productive, and consistent in my studies. I am confident and capable. I believe in myself. I got this. And read or listen, if we did the voice memo, read or listen to your affirmations in the morning, before you study, and before bed. Again, we want to keep it at the forefront of our mind of why we're doing this. It's like we know why we're doing this, but again, keep it at the forefront of our mind. We're doing this in this example because passing this licensure exam means I get to help more people, further my career, and increase my finances. And whatever our specific reason is, make it real to us, tangible. We want to see it, hear it, believe it, and keep us on that path of studying. So you got this. Also, find a study buddy. Find a study buddy, find a study buddy, find a study buddy. Where do we find a study buddy at? University. I know some of us are still in school or have some connects when we were in school of people that we may know taking this exam. So reach out to them or join our Facebook group. Our tribe is growing rapidly. So I highly encourage, again, having a study buddy, you can help keep each other accountable, help motivate each other. And let's say if, you guys are covering a topic, code of ethics, DSM, human behavior, whatever the topic is, you two can coordinate a time where you can hop on the phone, FaceTime, Zoom. So that way you guys are really discussing it, really processing the information, and really just saying like, oh, okay, that's how it go. Oh yeah, okay, da, da, da. Like it's really helping the learning process. And even when you're explaining it to each other, where it's like, oh, during this section, it was da, 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 da. And it's like, oh, okay. So again, we don't need a million people, but just having that one study buddy, 1, 2 that you could just hop on the phone with, hop on Zoom, just really discuss the material, definitely goes a long way. And the tip videos, I made 3 tip videos so far. I'm gonna put the playlist down in the description where, again, just helpful tips about, preparing for this exam, when we're actually taking the exam and all that good stuff, like putting in a PTO day ahead of time so that our employer knows that, we're not gonna be in that day, increases the chance of being accepted, the PTO day that is, because we put it out in advance. And that way we can just wake up and focus on the exam. And I have some other tips in there as well. So again, check out the tip video below in the description. And let's pretend this is day number 1. This is applicable even if we're a month, 2, etc. into our studying journey. But let's just say this is day number 1, right? Read the NASW Code of Ethics. Take a week to thoroughly read or listen to the NASW Code of Ethics. The NASW Code of Ethics is our blueprint and guidebook to the profession of social work. The link to my NASW Code of Ethics playlist will be in the description of this video. Everyone, all of this information is applicable because we're social workers. Read this, learn this, understand this. It's valuable. Throughout the exam, whether taking the Lcsw, Lmsw, whatever version we're taking, the Code of Ethics is literally sprinkled all throughout the exam, and it applies in so many different ways. And there are certain situations on how to respond. For example, when it comes to informed consent, what happens if the social worker is meeting with a client, or technically a potential client because they're not officially a client yet, for like an intake or something, and the client is under the influence? That goes into the category of informed consent, since they can't give it because they're under the influence. How do we respond? What about if it's a language barrier, falling under the category of informed consent because they're not understanding during the intake phase what the social worker is conveying because they don't speak that primary language? How do we respond? What if it's a cognitive impairment? The potential client, the person isn't understanding what we're saying. How do we respond? So learning the Code of Ethics is very, very, very important. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Oh, in fact, I actually have a study group that I do on the Code of Ethics where we talk about those different situations, breaking it down further, and a playlist as well in the description of this video. So definitely check it out. And you guys know what I say, do at least 2 practice questions a day. Helps keep the exam anxiety at bay. Again, let's pretend this is day number 1 of us studying. It doesn't have to be, but let's just say it is, right? And people on average usually study for 2-3 months, but you know your life, you know your responsibilities and how much time you have to dedicate to studying on a consistent basis. So more so go off of that. But if today is day number 1 of our studying, do at least 2 practice questions a day. I don't care if we get them all wrong. The purpose is to get us familiar with the exam, answering these questions. And we're learning when we're listening or reading the rationale as well. I have a playlist on my channel for the practice questions that will also be in the description of this video. And whether you have material, I know there's different programs out there, or if you just do a raw Google search or a YouTube search, ASWB practice exam questions, LSW, LCSW, and do 2 a day. You can even save them in your playlist. I have a good amount on my channel and I plan to upload more, but definitely getting that practice in, and at least 1 practice exam a month. So imagine doing 2 a day, 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 2 a day. You see how that starts to like 2 a day, 2 a day. It's not overwhelming. It's not, because it's 2 a day. And then at least 1 practice exam a month, where let's say on a Saturday, we do a full-length practice exam, treat it like the real thing, right? And then on Sunday, we go over our answers, look at the rationale, and that includes the ones we got right, not just the ones we got wrong, because we want to make sure that our mindset is in the right frame of mind. And shout out to Social Work Test Prep. If you use my code RayTube25, you'll get 25% off on all practice exams, and they're affordable. They're pretty solid, so I highly recommend that. And keep in mind when answering these questions, the last sentence is the actual question being asked. Everything before the last sentence is the details/information we use to answer the question. And when I say the last sentence, I literally mean the last sentence. That's the one that ends in a question mark. So if it says, what should the social worker do next? Most likely, da-da-da. And everything before that last sentence is the context, the details of what's going to help us answer that question. Okay, so how to answer the first questions on the exam. Here's the thing. All of the answer choices of A, B, C, and D, or A, B, and C if it's a 3 answer choice question, may sound good, but the question is about the sequence/order that action should take place. The question is asking, what is the first action the social worker should take out of the given answer choices, given the details/information/context of the question? Again, what should the social worker do first? Example, a social worker plans to meet with a new client to complete an initial assessment. What should the social worker do first? A, build rapport and establish a therapeutic relationship. B, create a treatment plan. C, prepare the client for termination. Or D, evaluate the client's progress. Take a second, pause, and we'll hop into it. Okay, if you picked A, you are correct. Why? Build rapport and establish the therapeutic relationship. That's the first thing that we do. When we look at A, B, C, and D, let's say D, evaluate the client's progress. They haven't started yet. It's a new client. I mean, we need to still gather information from them. So that wouldn't be the first thing we do. Is it something we do in the social work helping process when we're working with clients to help meet their goals and everything? Absolutely. But it's not the first thing that we would do. How about C? Prepare the client for termination. Again, they didn't even start yet. Yeah, we're already like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm so. Okay, termination time. It's like, wait, we didn't even start yet. So that wouldn't be the first thing we would do. Create a treatment plan. Again, we just met with them for an assessment. Is that the first thing we do? The first thing we will want to do is build rapport and establish the therapeutic relationship. And technically, the therapeutic relationship, the rapport building, literally starts the moment we are in contact with the client. So we say, "Hello, my name is Ray. Nice to meet you." That's when it starts. Whenever that first contact is. That's why they say, you only get one time to make a first impression. So A would be the correct answer as the first thing we would do. Now let's head over to the next related questions. How do I answer the next questions on the exam? Same concept. Here's the thing. All of the answer choices of A, B, C, and D, or again, A, B, and C if it's a 3-answer choice, sound good. It can sound good, but the question is about the sequence/order the action should take place. The question is asking, what is the next action the social worker should take out of the given answer choices of the details, information, everything within the question. And when we check out another example of a question here, a social worker is working with a client to help manage their anxiety. The social worker receives a court order for the records of their client. The social worker advocated to the judge on behalf of the client to limit the number of records requested by the judge. The judge denied the social worker's request. What should the social worker do next? A, send the judge the requested records. B, continue to advocate to protect the client. Or C, deny the request from the judge. Take a second, pause, pick your answer, and then we'll dive into it. Okay. If you picked A, you're correct. Why? So A, again, is send the judge the requested records. So the question is asking, what should the social worker do next? That is the actual question, the last sentence of the question. What should the social worker do next? What do you mean, what should the social worker do next? What should the social worker do next if they're working with the client and they received a court order from a judge for the records, and after advocating, the judge denied and said pretty much they still want the records? What do we do? Well, when we look at C, deny the request from the judge, we don't have the authority to do that. We can't. So C, cross that out. That's not correct. B, continue to advocate to protect the client. We already advocated. We already advocated to the judge. They said no. We're not going to keep advocating to them. We already had the conversation. The judge heard us out and they denied our request. And when we look at A, send the judge the requested records, that is the correct answer because they're a judge. Now, if we didn't advocate to the judge on behalf of the client, then that would be the correct answer, and that would be one of the answer choices. We wouldn't just send the judge the records. We would advocate for the client first, right? As the next step to do if we haven't already did that within the question. So that's why we talk about the sequence of events, right? The first, the next. Something was already done within the question. It said that we advocated to the judge and everything like that. So we're not going to advocate again and everything. The next step the social worker should take is, again, sending the judge the requested records because we already advocated. And keep this in mind. We have to work with the answer choices that we have. Kind of like if you're cooking, you got to work with the ingredients you got. We may think of not only a correct, accurate, and plausible response to the question, but we have to work with what we got. Is that an answer choice of out of A, B, C, and D, or A, B, and C? Because again, we could think of something that's really good. It could be an even better answer than the actual answer on the question, but we have to work with what we have. Now let's jump into the most related questions. How do I answer the most questions on the exam? Not most like, oh, I want to get all of them. I mean, we do want to answer all of them. Side note, don't leave any answer choice blank, even if you flag them. If you flag them and you get all the way to the exam, even if you flag them, make sure you selected the answer. Why? Because we don't want to get all the way to the end of the exam, go back to the flagged questions and run out of time because we didn't select the answer and then automatically get those wrong. I'm telling you, man, always select the answer even if you flag it. Jumping back into it, how do I answer the most questions on the exam? Here's the thing. The most related questions are asking out of the given answer choices of A, B, C, and D, or A, B, and C if it's a three answer answer choice, what makes the most sense for the social worker to do, or what is the most likely answer given the details slash information slash context provided within the question. Because remember, the questions, they're not going to give us every single detail to the T, where it's like, oh, that's clearly they're going to give us just enough information to highlight the correct answer. Example, a social worker is meeting with a client who reports feeling sad, irritable, and anxious. The client also reports seeing a shadowy figures throughout the day. What is the most likely diagnosis? A, brief psychotic disorder, B, major depression disorder, or C, generalized anxiety disorder. Take a second, pause, pick your answer, and we'll dive into it. Okay, if you picked A, a brief psychotic disorder, you are correct. Why? So again, when we scroll back up, it says the most likely diagnosis. It's like, wait, they're feeling anxious. That's anxiety, right? And it's like, oh, that goes into the category for generalized anxiety disorder. And it's like, oh, they report feeling sad. That goes in a category for major depression disorder. Oh, cool. Like that's the right answer, right? And it's like, but the question also, the details, the context, the information within the question, it said that they're seeing shadowy figures. That's not a symptom of B, MDD, or C, GAD. That's a symptom, a signature symptom at that, of having any form of hallucination, honestly, but visual hallucinations. So A makes the most sense, it's most likely versus the other two. Now let's jump into the best related questions. How do I answer these best related questions on the exam? Here's the thing. The best questions are asking out of the given answer choices. Here I'm sounding like a broken record. Out of the given answer choices, what is the best option for the social worker to take given the details slash information slash context of the question? Example, a social worker is meeting with a client who is mandated by the court to attend treatment. The client reports feeling irritable, annoyed, and upset because he does not believe treatment will help. What is the best way for the social worker to engage the client? A, build a rapport and establish the therapeutic relationship. B, report the client's poor attitude to the court. Or C, remind the client that he is mandated to attend treatment. Take a second, pause the video, and then we'll jump back into it. Okay, if you picked A, build rapport and establish the therapeutic relationship, you are correct. Why? So when we scroll back up, the last sentence, what is this question asking? Let's look at the very last sentence. What is the best way for the social worker to engage the client? So imagine someone comes up to you and just, as a social worker, hey, you're a social worker, right? You're like, yeah, we're a social worker. Quick question. You're like, okay, go ahead. What's the question? What is the best way for the social worker to engage the client? And like, that's all they gave us. We might say, in a friendly, warm, professional manner. And they might be like, oh, cool. And can I give you more context? And I was like, okay, sure. So there's this social worker, right? And they're meeting with a client. Okay. And they're mandated to be there. Okay. And the client feels some type of way about it. They're kind of annoyed, irritable. They really don't want to be there. They don't believe it helped. They're kind of like, ugh. Okay. So what is the best way? What is the best way to engage a client as a social worker if that client is feeling some type of way because they don't want to be there? What is the best type of way for the social worker to engage a client that's feeling some type of way of just not wanting to be there? Would you say it's to remind them like, you're mandated, you got to be here? Do we have another option? How about reporting clients' poor attitude to the court? Any more, or is that it? You could build rapport and establish a therapeutic relationship. Let's go with that one. I think that would be the best way to engage a client that's feeling some type of way about being there, because when we do that, we can kind of set the tone for how we can help them. So let's go with that. So within the social work helping process, and I put EAP, intervene, ETF, just as a way to help us memorize it. So EAP, think of like a EAP program where typically it's resources to help the employees at a company and everything like that, right? And then Intervene. The EAP program intervenes with resources which cost money. ETF with stocks and all that, but EAP, intervene, ETF, right? So step one is engagement, then assessment, then planning, intervention, evaluation, termination, and follow up. Side note, not a lot of there places don't always do follow-ups, even though it's highly recommended, but it's there just in case if it pops up on the exam or anything like that. But follow-up would be number 7, or refer for help. Okay, tribe, that's it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell a social work friend, because we don't want to be licensed by ourselves. All the information to study groups and the playlist mentioned in this video here will be down in the description below, so click that. It's like a light gray box, and it should reveal and open up all that information. Lastly, you got this. You got this. You got this. You got this. Stay consistent, stay positive, stay productive, show ourselves grace, and go in there and pass your exam. You got this. All right, tribe, I'll see you next video.